Okay, so check this out. I'm gonna add, so I've taken your slideshow that you gave me, Cam, and I'm gonna add in some things. So I put these pictures separately so we can just kind of see them easier. And then I added in some just shapes. And these shapes we're gonna use to trigger the actions on these slides. What we want to have happen is when someone clicks on Northern Division, the Northern Division image should show up, it should fade in, stay there for about 5 seconds, and then fade back out. So that's what we need to set. And I'm going to go ahead and just insert a final shape. I used the rounded rectangle. I thought that was a better fit for some of these, although in the book it talks about using an oval. Either one should really be fine. And I'm making them different colors just so they're easily differentiated. And I'm just adding Western Division. Now in the text it also asks you to put these as 100% transparent ovals, but with a solid fill so that they can still be clicked and the user can click them and have a result happen. But I'm just going to do them this way so I can show you how it works. Alright, so the first thing we need to do, let's set the Northern Division one. So we want it to happen that when we click on this, this should show up, and then it should fade out after 5 seconds. Alright, so first what we do is we actually are going to set up an animation here for this thing to show up. And so I've got that selected, the Northern Division picture, and I have the fade option here, which makes it fade in. So I clicked on the fade option, that adds an animation to make this fade in. And so if I run the slide now, I can see what happens here. I see some things are fading in. It looks like the Northern Division's fading in. So this isn't what I want, but it's at least there. I'm going to delete some of these extra animations that you tried with before and just leave the one for the Northern Division that I just created. Okay, but this should fade in not as a part of a click sequence, but from a trigger. So under triggers, this is a Mac version of PowerPoint, but you probably have Windows. And so you can click on the animation option in the animation pane. You do want to make sure you have the animation pane open and available. Let me get this drawing thing out of the way. Okay, hopefully that works. So it's animation pane right here. There we go, excellent drawing. So animation pane, and then we want to choose a trigger for that, and it should be on the click of the right oval, or the right thing, the right object in the slide. And so we want to select Rounded Rectangle 8 Northern Division. That's the rounded rectangle that I created. And to know which one is the right one, it's hard to know for sure. But you kind of have to test it out. So now what should happen is, because I've set that trigger to be the Rounded Rectangle 8 for fading this in, it should happen that when I click on Northern Division, it should fade that one in. And it does. Cool. So we've got part of the animation done. The next part is we need to add another animation to this Northern Division. We need to add a fade out animation for that. And it should fade out after the fade in one. It should fade out after the fade in one. Only the problem with this is the default timing on this is on click, and it should really be after previous. Right? We should just wait 5 seconds and it should happen naturally instead of having to click on this to make it fade out. It should just go ahead and fade out after a certain amount of time. So I'm going to choose a delay of 5 seconds. I'm going to choose after previous, and that means that 5 seconds after this fade in animation it will fade out. So let's see if that works. We push Northern Division, it fades in, wait 5 seconds, and it fades out. Nice. So we've got it working the way we need to. Next step is to program Eastern Division with the same settings. So I've got Eastern Division right here as a picture. I'm going to create another fade in entrance animation. Notice up here it's in a list of animations that just happen independently, and the other ones that I've already made are under trigger, rounded rectangle, so they're triggered by this click. So I need to change this one to be like these ones, but from this second item here. So I can click on this animation and I can go to the timing, no, not the timing, the triggers on click of, and I'm going to do my Eastern Division rounded rectangle to trigger that. You know, yours might be an oval like it asked for in the book. It might be an oval, but whatever object you choose should trigger that animation happening. So let's take a look at this now. We'll go ahead and open it up again, see what happens. Yeah, it's triggered when I click on Eastern Division. Northern Division also is still working. So the next step then is to click on Eastern Division again. Let's make sure we choose the fade out option for exit animations over here. And in Windows you'll have a drop down and you'll have to choose the red version or the red looking one. It makes a fade out like I want it to, but this is not under the trigger that makes it fade in. I need to move this down to be under that second one so that it's part of the same sequence of events. And then I can go to after previous and 5 seconds. I want it to stay for 5 seconds. And then after this animation where Eastern Division comes in, the next thing that should happen is it should wait 5 seconds and then fade this Eastern Division out. Let's see if that works. So there it faded in, and then after 5 seconds hopefully it will fade out. I'm not touching anything yet. So it faded out. So now I click on Northern. Northern fades in, waits 5 seconds, then fades out. If I click on Eastern, Eastern fades in, waits 5 seconds, and then fades out. And so forth. And then you would continue the process for Southern and Western. You do the same exact thing. You set the entrance animation for it, make a trigger for it, and so forth. After completing all those activities, what you would do is make each one of these larger and stack them on top of each other. Now that we've got them figured out, we can put them together like this so that the appropriate one shows up just as big as we can get it, while the other ones wouldn't show up. So that's how to do this activity. Hopefully that is helpful to you all.